Hello and welcome to AutoFocus. Today we are in Goa to drive the Tata Altroz iCNG. Tata Motors has been coming up with a slew of electric vehicles. All of their EVs are doing really well in the market, starting from the Nexon, which really shook the market in the EV segment. Now here we have something where Tata Motors is gone a little back into its bread and butter segment, which is the Altroz. But this here, of course, is not just petrol, it's also going to be running on CNG. The maturity in the CNG alternative fuel segment means that people that are buyers in that segment have grown past the point where they're only looking for generic advantages of CNG. The generic advantages of CNG, of course, is lower operating costs overall, the advantage of potentially a factory-fitted CNG kit, which then ensures reliability is taken care of. So Tata Motors is calling this the no compromise CNG, and that is because the Altroz iCNG is being offered with a lot of the features that you would find in the petrol Altroz. Tata Motors, in fact, has gotten into the CNG segment since financial year 2022. So pretty recent, and it's had its two cars in the past, the Tiago and Tigor, the hatchback and the compact sedan. Now this of course is going to be their third offering in the CNG segment. The segment is currently dominated by Maruti, which has almost a 70% share, and last year was a milestone year for CNG vehicles, where the total number of CNG vehicles has crossed 6.5 lakh units. Now that's a big number. It's also a segment where Tata Motors has almost had 400 plus growth in numbers, so it's not something that they can ignore, or anybody for that matter can ignore any longer. And Maruti, of course, has had a huge head start in that segment. Now Tata Motors is hoping that with the Altroz iCNG, it's going to be able to capture a lot of the market that is looking for premium vehicles that delivers the performance, the feel, premiumness in the cabin and all of that that people in this sort of price category expect. And this is a good vehicle for somebody who's looking to upgrade from a small hatch. So already the Altroz is a great alternative for somebody looking for an upgrade, and on top of that, now you have the advantage of CNG going for you. So now let's take a deep dive into the Altroz iCNG, see what it has to offer, and whether this is going to be the vehicle that you should be buying. The Altroz iCNG's design is almost identical to the Altroz that we've already seen on our roads. The shark-nosed front side, the humanity line, that sleek grille, and this deeply raked aerodynamic design that gives that Altroz that excellent road stance and presence. All of Tata Motors' signature design lines and flared wheel arches, all of that giving it that character that we already know that the Altroz possesses. That's what the iCNG also gets. All of those premium bits, the chrome underframe going right through from one end to the other, 16-inch special alloy rims. Blue paint that you see on this again is a signature for the Altroz that's been carried into the iCNG too. At the rear also, the design continues to be similar with those wraparound tail lamps, individual configurations within those tail lamps with its LED lights, all of that captured. Some small little bits that are missing in this, but for the most part, the design is identical to the Altroz that's already in the market with the other three powertrain options. That's what the iCNG also gets. So Tata Motors officials tell me that the Altroz iCNG is a bi-fuel vehicle that has many firsts. One of the firsts, of course, is the fact that it gets a sunroof, something that apparently a lot of Indians want to choose in their cars. Now, other than that, of course, it is also a single ECU that calibrates and looks at, monitors the fuel injection of the petrol and the CNG, and that is an advantage because then there is no change in character between the two fuels when you are driving either in CNG mode or with petrol injection happening into the 3-cylinder 1.2-liter engine. It has also got a lot of safety packed in. The Altroz already is a very safe car. It is already got a global NCAP 5-star rating for its use of high-strength steel, for its underpinnings, for its crash structure, and of course there's a lot more safety that's been built into the CNG version. Now the iCNG getting 6-point mount for the dual cylinders of CNG that sit right under the boot of the car. The two cylinders are actually sandwiched between the boot area and the fuel tank, which basically sits behind and under the rear passenger seat. Those 6 mounts, of course, gives it a lot more strength. There is a very low risk of any structural damage in case of a rear-ending collision. There's a lot of safety that's been built into the CNG piping and the injection system also, so which then means that anytime the system detects a leak in CNG, it automatically cuts off gas supply, and also if there is a crash and there is a rupture, the gas is immediately released out into the air. It has other advantages, like for example, the fuel filling cap has a switch in it which detects whether it is open or closed. So in the event that you are going to be opening the fuel filling cap on the side of the car, the engine automatically is cut off, the engine shuts down. Same will be the case with the possible scenario where you go to fill gas and you have to open that fuel lid. The advantage with the bi-fuel Altroz iCNG, of course, is the fact that you can switch from CNG to petrol easily. It's just one toggle switch away. You press the switch on the side of the steering wheel and it automatically selects between petrol and CNG. Right now I just swapped back to CNG, though the CNG tank is very close to being empty, so it is going to be automatically switching over from CNG to petrol pretty soon. But yes, you can easily switch from CNG to petrol with just a push button away. As far as the CNG cylinders go, there are 2 cylinders, each with a rated capacity of about 5 kgs, totaling up to 10 kgs. And Tata Motors officials tell me that the rating is yet to be given by ARAI. It's awaited. The fuel efficiency numbers are awaited. The range similarly will be awaited. But for now, it is expected to offer about 25 kilometers or so per kg of CNG use, which then means potentially you could get about 250 kilometers of extra range from just the CNG cylinders. Now, the CNG cylinders themselves are filled up to the brim, but then you potentially can only fill up to about 9.5 kgs worth of CNG, possibly because of changes in the pressure at which it's filled at a fuel station, and also the possibility of ambient temperature conditions affecting the gas in the cylinder. So you could look at a scenario where you will get about 8.8 to about 9.5 kgs of CNG in the cylinders. The cylinders themselves store and feed the gas at about 200 bar pressure, and Tata Motors engineers tell me that in the event that the system detects steep drop in pressure, which then could mean that it either a leak or whether possible very low fuel scenario, then it seamlessly switches from CNG to petrol. You would be then driving with the petrol in the fuel tank. They have 2 separate indicators and 2 separate fuel gauges for CNG and petrol, which show up on the instrument cluster, and there's also 2 separate indicators to show whether the CNG in the tank is running really low or into reserve, similarly for petrol too. Tata Altroz now then gets 3 engine options. One is the diesel 1.5 litre, the iTurbo engine, which again is something that we've driven and written about and spoken to you about. This here, of course, is the 1.2 litre petrol engine that is then given bi-fuel alternative, petrol plus CNG option, offering you a potential range of 600 kilometers plus. The engine, of course, is 1199 cc 3-cylinder petrol engine, which in this form, in its CNG mode, delivers about 73.5 PS of peak power. In petrol mode, delivers about 88 PS of peak power, both at about 6000 RPM. Maximum torque in CNG mode is 103, and in petrol mode is about 115 Newton meters. All through the afternoon and morning today, we've been driving in CNG mode with the occasional switch over to petrol just to experience the seamless transition from CNG to petrol, and it really does manage that thanks to the single ECU that then controls and monitors the whole cycle. Now that's paired with a 5-speed manual transmission. That is the only gearbox you have the option of buying, and this is still, even in CNG mode, fairly peppy to drive, and it's not really a very heavy car from that perspective, so That then again is an advantage with the Altroz. Overall vehicle performance is not in any manner seeming like it is underpowered or underwhelming, though yes, there's always that need for a little more power and torque that would then help you drive a little more peppily. But then this again in city conditions and on the highway does pretty well. There is very little room for complaint. The suspension has been retuned, especially at the rear, where the additional 105 kgs coming in from this CNG cylinder and some of the other equipment there adds to the weight, but it does improve straight line stability and even cornering abilities. Center of gravity is now lower thanks to that extra weight at the rear. The suspension at the rear has been marginally retuned to handle that extra weight, but overall otherwise the ride quality is still very likable, and the Altroz was always a car that managed to put away bad roads, potholes and speed breakers with great ease. So the Altroz iCNG prices start from about 7.55 lakhs and goes all the way up to 10.55 lakhs for the 6 trim variants that's being offered, and that's supposed to be introductory prices. So Tata Motors says that there is a likelihood of these prices being revised in the future, but for now that's what you get, 7.55 lakhs to about 10.55 lakhs. I would say it's a very attractive option for that price, a B segment, a B plus segment hatch with a lot of the advantages that CNG brings with it, and of course no compromises in terms of its premium features in the cabin, and of course you still have a pretty usable boot. It is lesser than what you would get with the Altroz, which is at about 330 liters, and this one here without the parcel tray in use is about 220 liters or so, and with the parcel tray on it is much lesser, it's about 150. But that said, it's still a very usable short weekend drive with a long range and a very usable and premium looking and feeling B plus segment hatch. So that's what you get. Go check it out at your nearest Tata Motors showroom.